It has become very clear to me due to some recent headlines that now more than ever I need to prove that Exodus is a monomyth, that Moses is called on the hero's journey, and that being like Moses is like being like Jason. And, okay, what I'm going to do in this video is start getting into I need to get into Genesis, and this is going to be kind of painful to go through. I'm going to process this and just kind of go through it. I've started some work in the past that I'm going to build off of. I'll post some links below. And there were some things I did in the past that I'm kind of, as this is growing, I'm going to update some things. But what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to take the list of all of the things that have been established as the list of items so far. I'm born, cause and effect is there, cycles are there, how we come about, life, the whole thing that is that human life cycle, and then self-healing cycle. What I'm going to do is continue now to, after identifying that, we're going to go through the myth, just go through the Bible and interpret those stories in the psyche. And in doing so, be able to extract the analogs that they're using farther downstream to show how they're continuing the analog building process. Okay, if this doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. I need to get through this somehow, and I'm not going to understand it until I get through the other end of it. So apologize for any fumbling through it, but that's just the way it's got to go. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel. Let's get started. Okay, let's refresh a little of something from old videos here. This is Genesis, all the way down through Genesis 11, 1 through 11. And in the top row, in the red, what you're seeing is from the first creation story. Then there's the second creation story, and it goes all the way down on the far right, still red. That is the wickedness of mankind. That is when God decides to flood. So that is everybody's human life's sequence right there. Everybody goes through that from birth all the way down to the point that you want to turn inward. Unless you have a happy life, you may not get to a point where you have a lot of inner turmoil. But that is the human life cycle right there. Then what starts is the monomyth, the blue section, the next one. That is Noah's calling. Noah's called twice. And just like there's two creation stories, there's two callings of Noah. That only happens here, and that's because they're adding some things into it for the story network. But then what happens all the way down to the end there, in the blue there, what we have, the third one from the right that doesn't have any red on it, that right there is where Noah is done. He's naked in his tent, drunk on wine. Everything's okay. Then what happens in that last section right there is that there's a lineage. If we look up straight up above it, you see all those ones that are in red that have the blue marks and the corrections. What those are doing is trying to correct names. So that's letting me know, because they're just odd names. It's trying to spell correct those. And I'm just leaving them there. What those are showing is that there's a lineage there. So at the end of the human life cycle, there's a lineage, and then it's time to wipe it out. Then when you go through a monomyth sequence and you heal, you come out naked at the other end, you see there's a lineage again. Then we drop down into something that is unusual. It only appears one time. This is in Genesis, and this is it follows the sequence. We can go through that, but that's the Tower of Babel right there. But do you see the Babel happens right there on the left, the green one, and then there's a lineage again. And then what happens, we drop into 12, and that's where Abram and Sarai start. Okay, so that's where I am, and this is the sequence that I'm seeing. So far, the red and the blue right there, that's the human life sequence right there. We're going to drop into Abram and Sarai and go back into it. That green right there, that is simply for the religion. That's trying to explain to people why, if God just created everything, how come everybody speaks different languages? So they throw that out there. They're taken over from the Babylonians, and there's ziggurats around already. So they just play off of the fact that there's remains already around of crumbling structures. Bingo, there you have it. Okay, how does all that sound? Before we move on from that, we can see that there are some sequences in there that lineage happens at the end of each one of them. We're also going to see that naked is going to be a factor in this. That the naked has to do with whether or not we have things that we are harboring, that we're how do I describe this best? Naked is when you're not attached to the things on the planet, where you're not emotionally grasping on the things that are happening. You're free of them. They're still happening, but you're just not emotionally caught up in them. That is what naked means. So we start off life naked. We're not attached to things. After Noah goes through the healing, he's in the tent. He feels better. He's created a vineyard, made wine. He's naked in his tent. That represents we are inside of ourselves again, and we're no longer covered again. That's not a bad thing. But then there's a lineage again, which we see that's habitual. Then there's Babel, of course, which is, it is going to follow the sequence. It starts out with everything together. Everybody spoke one language. That's us. Everybody, we were combined at first. We did not have a lot of inner conflict. Then as life went on, we experienced life. That represents the idea of building our Tower of Babel to life experience. And then what happens is that that goes bad. It crumbles. We've actually now become a very divided and split up person. So the end of the Tower of Babel is us, and we start out in life. Everything is together. We end up in life. It's not. And I will tell you that this is a variation of the Joshua and Jericho story. Jericho was the evil city that was marched around 7 times. How many 7? Where's that number coming from? Pure time. Yeah. And Jericho comes crashing down. So we've really got the stories. You can look at them a certain way and go, oh, yeah, they are making it sound a little bit different, and these places are there, but they're staying on this template. Then there's a lineage that goes on again. Now we're going to step into Abram and Sarai, but I just wanted to point this out. There's patterns and things happening in the background. There's other stuff happening at different levels. There's a multiple of things going on inside of here. All right, if I go back to this list, and I'm going to put it in a different format before I get too far into this video, but we can see that this is the 7th day of creation. We emerge from the cosmos. We are from a higher being. Cause and effect is going to come into place. I don't know what that 2 means. Actually, I put that down just because it says the story is told twice. God commanded that the earth bring forth the trees and that produce the fruit that produce seeds, and then it came forth the plants that produce. So I don't know what that is, if there's something to that being said twice like that. Then day 4, everything cycles. That's the lights coming around. We emerge with base qualities. We have certain things that God named. We have become self-aware. Those are things that we've named now. And 7, that day right there, that represents that pure naked place right there. In fact, that should be naked too. That right there is where a point is that we're going to continue to return to, this number 7. That represents the same place as, if we go through all the material, this is right before first sin, which would represent starting to become attached to life, starting to grasp onto things. So this is day 7 here is a pure form that we're going to want to get back to, and the material is going to continually do this. In fact, if you've ever heard Jesus say, Gospel of Thomas, I believe it is, to enter the kingdom of heaven within, do so as a child 7 days old. Bingo, here it is right here. That is Eden. We're leaving it behind. We can't get back to Eden, but they're going to be using, like on this right here, there's a 7, a 3, which means kind of a pure and unjudged life. But they're going to be creating analogs that fit here in this position that all refer back to this point but sound different. We're going to have 7. We're going to have 3. We're going to have righteousness. We're going to have a couple of other things, but we'll go look through and analyze that as we go. This is an important point, because what's going to be happening then as they continue to create the monomyth, it can't sound the same over and over again. However, they're creating it in such a way that you can see the structure in there. If we had it memorized and we analyzed it, that's 7 and 3 right there at the end of the first creation story, day 7. God rested on day 7, finished on day 7, saw that it was good on day 7. Day 7 was said 3 times. So right there, my analysis begins to reveal that 7 and 3 both mean the same place right here, this pure self. And throughout the material, if you continue to analyze it in the same way, the 7s and the 3s continue to emerge. 7s and 3s are just incredibly, just pick up the Bible and start flipping through. You cannot turn a page without finding 7s and 3s. They mean something. There's a code in here, but we can access the code by counting. Yeah, by counting and Well, let's just go through it and keep doing it. See what emerges. Okay, going on in the sequence here. After day 7, what we have, judge, experience, loss of innocence. That is first sin, if you would recognize that. Then it's going to be followed by cyclical pain, birth and pain in childbirth. Attached to physical experiences, Adam is going to work the land. The offspring are going to work the land. We switch to living from from our physical experiences. Well, now we are judging life and living based on what we see. We continue growing in the physical world. Our life goes on. It continues to things go on. We get jobs. We have life, and time goes by. But at some point, life pain is severe enough to now destroy it. That's for the called person. Not everybody's going to go there. There's a lot of people right now that stay right there. Life pain is severe, but they don't destroy it. They don't know that it's up to them. They're carrying the instructions for doing that, but they don't know it. Then we go on to the called person. That's going to be the rare person. We're going to resolve our issues. We'll be emerging purified to a new life. No longer will we hiding it inside. More past emerges, and then time goes by again. All right, so with all that detail out, here's the deal. We start out in life pretty pure. Then we have bad experiences. Then we have to move on in life. We get hurt. We struggle to leave the past behind. We finally have something happen that causes us to rectify that. We move on. Something else emerges. We have to rectify that. Something else emerges. We have to rectify that. And that's what's going to emerge here. The pattern has been established right in the beginning. Between all the way up through Genesis 11, the pattern's established. We were the one that was created. We were the created one. And then that was our life all the way up to the flood. And then we became Noah. And then we went through a healing sequence. But after Noah is gone, this is playing out in our psyche. We are now Abram and Sarai. And then it's going to have to follow this same kind of a sequence over again, starting out pure, having things go wrong, cyclical pain. Those sort of elements is what we're going to be looking for that are going to continue to repeat in the same order once we understand we're looking at the concepts in the story. Okay, let's look at this. Here I've got the template now in a Word document. So let's do it this way. The template is in mentally interactive terms. Sequence, the creation is our birth, and this is until we're ready to turn inward. So number 1, we're born from the universal energy. We exist within the framework of natural laws. Everything within the cosmos is in cycles. Our life, everything is going to be in cycles, and everything that's happening is going to be due to cause and effect. When we see things in the physical world, that's the final manifestation of something deeper. We do have fixed qualities at birth. That's in our DNA. We have variations. We grow in our local areas as kids until we are self-aware. We begin to develop our identity through our experiences and basic skills. This is our self-identity too. This is our self-awareness. You see that 5 and 6 there. This is the point as children where we are playing and having fun, and we know what we're doing now. We're old enough to be running around and grabbing toys and eating cookies or, whatever, having those experiences at this point in time in our life. We have not begun to judge life experiences. We haven't had them yet. We've been sheltered so far. So number 7, we begin mental awareness of our experiential life right here. We are happy and not yet attached to any real world experience. This is our place of personal bliss, and we want to return to this state. Okay, that's day 7 right there, and that is before first sin. This is the place we're going to want to return to. So this is going to begin to grow a large amount of analogs in this number 7 section right here. I will start a separate page for that one by itself. Number 8, judged unchecked. This is first sin. Judged unchecked, life experiences begin to be hidden deeply, and we begin to lose our inner joy. This is what we normally do, though. This is what, if you look back on it, it's nothing that, it's not just something that happened bad to us. It is us looking at life and judging life based on what we see. We don't understand cause and effect yet. So we are growing to the world based on our judgments of what we see, and we attach with it in that way. We're not detached from it. We're coming from our local areas, and we start out small, and we start out very connected to it. That's this right here. But what happens to us? Our early self emerges, highly mentally attached to physical experiences. Cyclical pain emerges. We become divided, and early self takes charge. That's our Cain and Abel. Attachment to the physical is complete. We make tents and pottery. We get jobs. Life goes on. We have family and kids. Time goes by, and left unchecked, whatever we harbor gets bigger and bigger within us. Those are those lineages. Time goes by. And now we get to 14. Life has become out of sorts. This is where the evil of the world, God sees he needs to destroy things. We are frazzled by our development, and not knowing how to fit in with our world, we are getting ready to emerge from our physical beginnings. So that is how I would interpret in plain language today what I see in that material. What happens next then? And this is a sequence. We're going to find bits and pieces of this. They're not always complete, but when we find parts, they're always going to be in a certain sequence. And since these stories are separately traveling around by word of mouth, there's some things that are included in them. There's a certain kind of person that's selected out by being born a certain way. And in this template, a self-healing sequence is established. It's popularly called the monomyth, but this is finer resolution and interpreted until mentally interactive. This is not Joseph Campbell's monomyth. His is a coarse, distant look. This is very fine. There's a certain selected person. There's cause and effect is what causes our life to be that way. And we're experiencing cycles of pain. It's time to begin the inward journey to find our happy beginnings, try to get back. What have we gone through in life that we can find a way to weed ourselves through? We're not going to want to. It's painful. It means facing the things that we don't want to face. So when we get ready to do that, we need the awareness of what to do in our minds first, because we do face it. We do look at things. There is a way to heal it by looking at it, and we don't look at it. But if we do look at it in certain ways, we can heal from it. And not many people are going to do that. It's going to be a struggle to leave the past behind. We're going to have to turn inward to the mind. That right there, that's the crossing of the threshold. That struggle to leave the past behind, the cycles of pain, Joseph Campbell did not identify those. There's that 5 right there, won't want to. He identified the call, selected person, won't want to, denial of the call. Supernatural aid, that's what I've got for number 6, needs the awareness of what to do. And then crossing of the threshold turns inward to the mind. So you see there's more to it than in those stories than what he identified. We're going to be using the conscious and higher self, that part of us in our mind where we can be detached from our emotional experience. We need to foster that, develop it, nurture it, understand it, and begin to work with it. And that is what we're going to be using to interact with the painful memories and emotions to begin a process of healing. Face and work with fears till they're no longer fears. In plain language, we must change the way we feel about our memories. We must also get out of our victim status. We must understand where we come from, that we're just physical beings trying to emerge through something, and we need to let people off the hook in order to be free of it. If we don't let them off the hook, we don't become free. It's that simple. But that's hard. It's a stark reality that's hard to do. Well, we want to share this only with others that are the same understanding. A part of the healing process is to be able to talk with people where someone that you're bouncing something off of, that you just have this incredible fear. You need to be with somebody who looks at you with compassion and says, that's okay. You're okay. You need that right there. We all need that right there for us to heal. We have to look at things. We have to find ways of being okay with stuff. In fact, look at it this way, because this is exactly what it is like. If you had a significant issue and you had to talk it out with somebody until you were okay with it, or you figured out how to resolve it, maybe even going to a psychologist, somebody external to you is helping you to pull something out and work through it until you're okay. That's exactly what we're doing here. It's just a little bit different in how we're doing it. The self and the higher being is learning how to be that detached person that can access it from your end. And you have to look at it that first we don't even want to face it. So first we have to be able to learn to face it within ourselves. We don't even tell anybody yet. You have to become at least comfortable enough within yourself to understand that, okay, I have to talk this out. That it's not always this case. I mean, sometimes we just need to let go of things, judgments, prejudices, things like that. What I'm talking about specifically here are the painful things that continue to come around. These are the things that we tend to not want to interact with, so we have to do that. Interact with them in order to be comfortable with them. It is our hatred of them that makes them act out that way. Our fear of them, our denial of them that gives, as strong as we deny them is as strong as they are. So we have to begin to, once we understand that, we have to, I have to decrease its energy then. And that means I have to look at it differently. That energy comes in my fear from it. So the only way to fix that is you have to start making friends with that. The fear will diminish. Its power will diminish. Soon you'll be able to talk something like that out with somebody that's of the right mind, that you'll be able, it'll break down the final barriers. That's been my experience. But you need the right person to do that with. You can do it with a psychologist, but you don't need to. If you know what's going on, you just need somebody that is on board with what you're doing and receptive to what you have to say, and open-minded and forgiving, non-judgmental. Life changes may occur which are really big. We cease to fit with the past and now need a new place to be. How long before further growth sends us on another inner trek with the same results? Then we emerge back into life, after a healing, we go back into our life situation, no longer the slave of that issue. I said the surroundings there, but that's what I think what happens first is, if we're working through an issue, we're no longer the slave of that issue, but knowing we are observing the manifested effect of a deeper cause. Fighting the effect makes it bigger, so we now know to back away. If we're truly healed and out of any bad situation, the cyclical pain will not emerge again. You have mastered a part of yourself and learn what to do to master it all if you choose to. Well, I could reword that different, huh? But it will be a hard trip for personal and your communal reasons, your life situation. What is it like where you're living? Okay, so that's what we're working with right there. And as we go through, this is what's going to grow. That 7 right there, that's going to be a big one. They're going to find a lot of ways to tell us to get back to that, but 7 is still going to repeat a lot. So is 3. How long before Jesus arose after going into the tomb? Okay, the first thing I want to do is reestablish where I get the 7 and the 3 from. First of all, it's on 7th day, and it's before. If you were to put the two creation stories side by side, so that they both start in the beginning and both lead right up to man and woman, that is right before first sin. So that 7th day right here is going to be the same as the second creation, the 5 rivers story. These are actually in the Garden of Eden right before first sin. So we're naked, unashamed. This is that point right here. And because it's said 3 times, on the 7th day, God finished, rested on the 7th day, God blessed the 7th day. So 7 was said 3 times there in what to me sounded like an odd staccato sort of a thing. And it does, if you look at it, 7s and 3s emerge throughout the Bible in this location in the template. We'll see that as it goes on. So that is where my first 7 and 3 comes from. Now let's do one other thing. I'm going to show you something else here. I'll pull this up here real quick. As I'm reading through, I find things like this. There's righteous is said, to me it seems like an inordinate amount of times. It doesn't seem to flow. All of a sudden, to me, it mentally gets my attention because it just keeps repeating it. Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there's 50 righteous. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous who are in it? You didn't have to say that. You could just say, will you then sweep away the place for them? Far be it from you to do such a thing, the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare is the wicked. 50 righteous. Anyway, if you go through there, you look and go, wait a minute, that's said 7 times. Righteous, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so righteous becomes, because it said 7 times, that becomes one of them as well. I'm going to show you something else. This is Genesis 9, the covenant with Noah. Look at, he's making a covenant. How many times does he say it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So God made a covenant with Noah, and they felt the need to say that 7 times there in that one short area, which again gets my attention. So we might change these later and find something else, but so far, because of those repeats like that, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that that's a clue that I'm supposed to make covenant also become an analog for that same point. Okay, now there's something going on here that I'm not quite sure of. 50 righteous appears 4 times. 50 righteous right here, 50 righteous here, and then 50 righteous here, and 50 righteous here. So what I'm going to do, and 50 doesn't appear any more than that, just those 4 times. So what I'm going to do, in not knowing what else to do, is I'm going to put 50 up there with number 7 as well. And I think I'm also going to put 4 because it appears 4 times here, but I'm going to put the 4 in, I'll put a question mark by it, knowing that I'm not quite sure what that is. There are things that are just not quite established, but as we go along, it should continue to emerge. All right, now I want to talk about this a little bit more. There's some other stuff going on I don't quite have a handle on, and I'm just going to grab numbers and throw them all together for now. I've used the term before, like an analog garden or an analog mine or something like that, and that's what this kind of looks like to me. It starts off, with God telling him one thing, and then he comes back and asks a question, and that sets this thing up where it can just keep going through this numbering sequence, and where he keeps asking a question. So it looks like we've got 50 in there, and then we've got 5 appears a couple of times, 2 times. The 40, I'm going to talk about that one for a minute. The 40, I'm really good with that one. How many days did it rain and night before the old was wiped away? How many years did the Israelites stay in the desert before they were purged? How many days was Jesus in the desert? This 40 is till the time of purity, purging, something. There's a clarity there. I'm comfortable with that one because I see it already all over the place. The other ones may very well be that. And because they're said twice, maybe 2 is 1 as well. I don't know. This is where we're just trying to establish things. We throw it out there as ideas and then start going back and searching the numbers to see if they actually fit in the stories and places that would confirm that that's what they are or not. So that's just going to take a lot of work. Okay, so the list then is currently this. I've got 7, 3, righteous, covenant, 50, 40, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 5 are all said 2 times each. Is that 1? I don't know. 45 is said 1 time. I can't find that anyplace else. It's transitional. We'll look at that one in a second. It's a weird one. And then 4, possibly. 50 said 4 times. So what I've got here then that I'm using is the 7, 3, righteous, covenant, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, and a 2 and 4. All right, then what you have to do is go, some of them I already know, the 3s, the 7s, the righteous, yeah, solid there. Covenant, probably so. We'll keep going through. But righteous, I can tell you, yes, every time you start a monomyth or every time somebody's connected with the higher self, it's going to be righteousness. Righteousness will start the story, the person that is righteous. So you're starting in the beginning. I'm going to grab a few verses. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. Book of Enoch. And he began his story saying, I am Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God. That is us who is connected with the higher self, whose eyes are opened by the higher self. Okay, so I'm pretty good with those. I think those continue to show up unless we find something that doesn't shore up. If I go explore the others, I'm not going to do it here. I just go put in 20, 10, different things like that, and they show up in places that looks like they belong there. It'll take too much to go chase them all down, though. That's something that I'm doing, and what I'm doing is, you can see what I'm doing is just trying to find the analogs, that they're As they're doing those numbering things, they're creating something that fits with that as the story continues, they can keep pulling from that pool of analogs that they're developing as they go through here. And that started right with the addition of what is now the first creation myth, the 7-day creation myth. That's where the 7 and 3 were both said together. And then you go to the book of Job. Right off the bat, it starts off with he's got 3 daughters and 7 sons. So there's the pure self to begin with, 3 of a female, 7 of a male, conscious and subconscious, pure beginning. That's how it's nested in. But that's where you're going to see the repetition come in too. But that one is pretty spot on. They're not all 7 and 3. And I don't mean to leave the impression that we're not going to chase those numbers down. What I'm going to do is just keep collecting those numbers, putting them in place, and we're going to go through the story. And as we go through the stories and we find things like that, we're going to go see if they come from those. And we're going to collect more along the way. We're not finished. This is just right in the beginning. But this establishes quite a bit right there. I almost forgot. This is important to point out. I don't know what it is. At the upper half of this is that whole section where that numbering and analog farming is going on with the 50s and the 5s, 40s, righteous, all that sort of stuff. The covenant is elsewhere. That's in the Noah one. Right here, what we have, though, up above, it says things like, what if there are 50 righteous within the city? Would you destroy it for the 50 righteous? And he says, I will not destroy it for the 50 righteous. Down below, it's the same sort of a thing. Suppose 30 are there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30. How about 20? I won't do it if I find 20. How about 10? I won't do it if I find 10. The next one should be, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, my ham. Isn't it? Okay, the one in the middle right there that splits the 50s and all the ones below it, this one is different. Look at it. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. They just did math on that one and not the rest of them. None of the rest of them. I looked for that 45. I don't find it anywhere in Genesis. It could be elsewhere in the Bible, but I don't find it here. But that one, it was just something that's an anomaly. And there are a few things like that. I've covered it in the other videos, the ones leading up to this, how the dates, the sequences, the time goes by are holding something encoded in those too, with the way the years are held. They're very big numbers, and then somebody's born, and then they're alive for another period of time until they die, and then the next person is alive for such a period of time, and then they have an offspring, and then they're alive for... Yeah, there's something else that's weird that's going on in there that I don't have those figured out. This kind of resembles that, except that... it's vertical instead of horizontal. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. There's things in here I'm still fumbling with. Most of it, honestly, most of it. Okay. Are we ready to start interpreting? Well, and we always have puzzles to work through. Look at this right here. As we start off with Abram and Sarai's story, right off the bat, we're told that Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So I thought, well, I wonder where Haran, what is that? I go do the navigation and search for it, and it comes up. It first shows up right before this. And it is right after the Tower of Babel. And it's in that lineage right there. Time goes by, but there's other things nested in here. Okay, listen to this. When Terah had lived 75 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the descendants of Terah. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren. She had no child. Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot of Haran. Must be from Haran? Of Haran. And his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Did we see this transition from Haran being the father, the son of somebody, the father of others, and now be a land? The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now, we have to know what's going on. You read that stuff and go, wait a minute. How did that go from a person to a land? And these are the kind of things that we find as clues in here that make you go, something's going on. We need to analyze this stuff. These are things that I really dig into and I still struggle with, and I really want to show enough where people look at it and go, oh yeah, I see that. Let me hook into it a little bit more. The reason these puzzle me is because I haven't seen a shift like this before. Typically, a male, in a case like this, the producer of offspring, is going to be some facet of an individual's consciousness at some slice of time in your life, or some aspect of it. Good parts, bad parts, Cain, Abel, whatever the case may be. Later on, Cain and Abel are gone. Now we've got different combinations going on. Now we got somewhere downstream Moses and Pharaoh, which are going to be doing that same dual role. We still have to get rid of the past. So to have a male character that gives offspring is that it's a part of your consciousness at some point in time. Now, a land that this morphed into, the land typically represents your overall general experience in life. What land do you live in? I got good parts and I got bad parts. The overall land, the overall self is the land, the kingdom, the world, the tower, the structure, the whatever it is, the city, the vineyard. Those are all ways of holding that idea. Your kingdom, your territory, your whatever. So if it is a land, typically that is something different. So I'm not quite sure what is going on with this one. But I know that it is all mental somehow. It's just an odd thing that I haven't seen before. All right, the next, I'm going to stop for a minute. This is really a lot of what I do sometimes, trying to figure it out and why it just takes such a long time. I've got a metaphysical Bible dictionary. Now, the metaphysical part I could care less about. It's actually helpful, some of it, but I'm not really into it. I find my own way. But what there is in here is all of the names. Bered, Berites, Bannon, Baal, Baal, Arioch, Hukok, Host, Hosea, Phlox, Gabriel. You just go through here and it tells you what the names mean. All the Hebrew and Jewish and everything else biblical. As far as the metaphysical part, that's somebody else's stuff, but the rest of it is good info. It's a nice reference. Anyway, what I come up with then is something that looks like this. That what we're looking at right here, remember up here that Terah, the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So there's three things right here. We are Abram when we go on the journey. We become the called person, and this is who it's going to be. So Nahor and Haran are going to be other qualities that we have. They're going to be other parts of, or other facets of who we are. If I look them up, Haran stands for strong, elevated, exalted, mountaineer. That's what we're leaving behind. The strong, the elevated, the exalted we're leaving behind. What we're continuing on with is with Nahor and Abram. So Abram, remember the exalted father, that's us on the path, but we're going with a snorting, snoring, angry, passionate, eager, irascible, quick to anger, piercing, slaying. So it looks like we've got it looks like what we've got is what? It looks like we have a Cain and Abel right after leaving the Garden of Eden or something like that. We've lost our higher self and are moving on with our searching self and our angry self. Okay, I'm going to start reading now. Genesis 12, Abram and Sarai. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing." So we're leaving our past behind. We're going to go live our own life. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. This is a tough one for people to wrap their brains around sometimes. This means good and bad both come from the same place, and it's cause and effect at the same time. I will curse those who curse you. I will bless those who bless you. But this is playing out in the psyche. This is not about people in the world. This is about what is up here. What is cursing us is going to continue to curse us, and what is blessing us is going to continue to bless us. Yeah. Okay. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So we're leaving behind that part of us, or the higher something, our capacity. Abram took his wife Sarai, and Sarai is our inner self, and his brother's son Lot. That's a part of us. I'm not quite sure yet. It's going to be a part of us that comes into play later. And all the possessions that they had gathered, and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. Okay, these are our qualities in life, the things that we've acquired. When it's time for the flood to happen, what has happened is that the young daughters of men become violated by the sons of God. What that represents is that as time has gone by, this experience that is good or bad or whatever, we now have qualities inside of us, our joy, our happiness, our innocence, all of those things, we have lost them. They don't exist anymore. They've been violated. That's why the flood had to happen, so we could have a rebirth and get those qualities back. Now, if we look at this right here, what we see, Abram took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot and all the possessions that they had gathered. These are all the things that we have, and all the persons whom they had acquired in Haran. Those are all of our good qualities. And they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. Canaan is a pure place. When they had come to the land of Canaan, so this is like, I'm going to stop right there. This one, Canaan, needs to be put on the list for 7. All right, this is what I've accumulated so far, and I think this is going to be fairly okay. We probably will have to make adjustments to it. But I've got now for that point we need to return to, that place where we want to go to be that mentally okay place. Nirvana. Kingdom of heaven within. I've got 7, 3, righteous, covenant, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, and Canaan. Possible 4, because 50 was said 4 times, and a possible 2, because 40, 30, 20, and 10 were each said twice. And that 45, I can't figure that out, where that goes. We'll just keep an eye out for it. And I've got it listed there, so we'll keep remembering it. Now, what is day 8? First sin. I made another list. Okay, I've got some things and I've jumped ahead on some of it. So first sin, that's when we start losing our happiness. We're kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We lose our happiness, our joy there. Day 8, that's when circumcision happens. Circumcision itself, living with Pharaoh in Egypt. We're living life and having bad experiences. But you see, I put 75 there because guess what? Could that be 7.5? Okay, we go back, look and see here that Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So it looks like that would line up there. I should end this video, but I want to summarize something. What are we doing? We're looking for analogs. I haven't even really gotten into it. I'm finding other stuff and getting set up for it. This is going to be a big trip. It's going to take a number of videos. But take a look at something right here. When I talk about analogs and their capacity to be to multiply, to be used later, let's take a look at something right here. Common number repeats in the Bible. The 3 and the 7, see right there in the beginning? 3 appears 467 times. 7 appears 463 times in its singular form. And then 591 times total. That's where it's in other multiples of other numbers, or maybe it's written out as 7 instead of a digit or something like that. So between 3 and 7, if those both equate to that same place, naked, unashamed in the garden, that appears 1,058 times total in the Bible, if we include the multiples too. And if not, we're still looking at, 900 or so, where it's just singular. And it's looking like righteousness and covenant and a couple of other things are all going to be there. So, yeah, we'll just keep collecting these up. But you can see that this is a look at it the other way. This is why they're setting up these numbers and creating them. They're definitely in use. And then if we go down and take a look at the number 12, this, I'm wondering, does it align with qualities that we have or need along the path? It appears 189 times, and it looks like in many myths there is the need to gather along, before you start on the adventure, to gather up help to go along the way. And all of those tend to somehow be different in ways that they represent something. It's not like a big army of everybody that's the same. It's a group of people that have different qualities, that have different names or something like that. This is not complete at all. This is what I'm doing. If you're playing along, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Please help. Okay, I decided to go ahead and list the names that are here after the flood and just identify them to see what we have going on and try to just define what they mean, see where they appear, do some other things. And so I've got from the Fillmore Bible Dictionary and from the AbramPublications.com online, I've got a few things here. It isn't complete, and I'm going to tell you I'm not completely satisfied with it. I don't think this is accurate, and I wouldn't stand by this as something definitive. What I think this is it's pointing that this is a direction that we're going the right way. But between the analogous, the very specific name, the reason for the name Seth or Enosh or Kenan or what they were using between then and now, that is a difficult thing right there. That's where we need experts from this walk of life to be involved in it. But I think that this, watch and see what happens here. This is as good as I can get for now anyway. Adam, first man, first conscious. Now, if we take him out of the equation and go from his offspring from Seth, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 people. Let's identify what they are. Seth means settled, determined, founded, set, placed, disposed, constituted, substituted, compensation. I don't know if all those are right. Enosh, mutable being, transient man, corporeal man, mortal man, suffering man, miserable man. That's the hurt. Kenan, self-centered one, fixed, ownership, central dominion, possession, invading, selfishness. That sounds like here. Mahalel, mighty rising, glory of brightness, mighty exaltation, praise, a joyous shout to God, praise of God, splendor of God. Not quite sure. Something big, though. Something powerful. Jared, descent, going down, descending, low country, declining. Well, you know what? Doubting Jared? Enoch, founder, centralizer, teacher, instructor, initiator, fixer, repentance, contrition. Methuselah, man of God, extension of God, man who is of God, yawning gulf of death, extremity of death. Lamech, overthrown, leveler, arrester of dissolution, principle of law and order, a strong young man, strength, healthy power. There's balance. When Jason goes, he has to take 40 Argonauts. They're going to do things. I'm wondering if they're doing something like that here, establishing that these aren't going along. It's a different way. Anyway, we got Noah, which means rest, calm, quiet, peace, tranquility, equilibrium, rest. Shem means upright, righteous. I'm going to use righteous out of that for Shem. Renowned, brilliant, shining, splendor, dignity, sign. Ham, from the verb, I don't know how to read that, to be hot, or another verb, to protect or surround. And Japheth, extend, wide and widespread, latitude, increase, expansion. We got infinite space. Okay, after reading all of that, here's what I've done. I've taken this piece of document right here, this little bit. I'm going to read this, take the names out, change the analogs, and restructure it and read it down here and see how it changes. This is right after the flood. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. They're just talking about Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Noah, a man of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank some of the wine and became drunk, and he lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, that must be Ham, he said, "Cursed be Canaan. Lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed by the Lord my God be Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. May God make space for Japheth, and let him live in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave." All right. Well, Canaan up ahead is the father of Canaan. Canaan is a place. So a location. This is a location that's going to be the slave of something. Okay. What I've done is I've taken down here, I copied that, and all of the everything up here you see highlighted, I've been rewording it down here. And there's other ones though. Here's what I've done though. If you look at something like up here where it said, and Ham, the father of inner peace and purity. Here we had, and Ham, the father of Canaan. Canaan is that inner beginning, remember? 7:3, the righteousness. Canaan, the happy land, the place we want to go to and get to. Nakedness, we're not covered with anything. Father, well, whoever owns this, and his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment. So this is putting covering on something, put it on their shoulders. Let's go down here and read what I've got. Self, still ultimately connecting to the physical, felt the new life experience. This is because we just went through the flood. We are Noah, and Ham, Shem, and Japheth are parts of us. So all of this is playing out as something for us in our psyche to understand from. So I experienced the healing and felt good inside of myself as I no longer were covered by that burden, something that I got lifted from me. And Ham, the father of inner peace. So this is the part of you that's supposed to be moving on to get complete inner peace. Saw the purity of his conscious self and told his infinitely righteous self. So that's kind of a weird thing. This is basically saying that we are pure, and we see that pure is there, and we see that there's inner peace. But then the infinite righteousness took a cover. What this means is we still have things that are problems inside of our lives. We shoulder the burden, and turning away from what we have marred and hid the purity of their experience. So now all that good feeling we had is like, okay, that's gone now. I've got other issues to resolve. I have not that peace and that wonder and that, oh my gosh, I hit nirvana. A couple of weeks later, it's like, oh no, I'm not. This feels just as bad. So that's been covered up again now. They ignored the purity that is hidden under the cover of emotional attachment. When self ceased feeling the healing experience and knew what Ham had done to him, he said, "Damned be inner peace, lowest of slaves shall be to his brothers who covered him back up." So the inner peace is going away, getting covered back up. Blessed be the higher awareness. Be righteousness. What have I got going on there? I don't have it fixed completely. And let purity be its slave. We're not going to continue to feel the elation. We're not going to continue to feel the effects of our wine. We will wake up from our feelings. We've rectified something, but we have more to do. May God make space for Japheth, and let him live in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. Okay, so the tents of Shem are the tents. The tent are what we live inside of, myself, my body, my experience, my life. Canaan, the happy land, is a slave. It is not rectified yet. And there's a couple of things I put down here that I want to look at. Check on a theory. I think that Ham maybe knows what to do, but doesn't do it. That would be like Moses. I think Abram has the strength, but doesn't know what to do. Aaron. Later they combine into Abraham, now knows what to do and has the strength to do it. In Exodus, it's Moses and Aaron together with a magical staff who lead the people. Okay, I just wanted to say that. I don't know if if you're following along. This is important for me to do, to see these things and to go through those things and to kind of start listing them and figuring stuff out. And knowing that it looks like it would go that way, and I'm using modern verbiage. I'm doing my best not to plug things into it that aren't there, but I realize that there's verbiage in there that is not accurate. It's too old. It's too dated. I don't know the best place to get the right terms. Generally, as I look at it though, it's like, boy, this kind of points towards 12. Those 12 people are 12 qualities that are being built for the story. These are you, all of them. These are us. All of them are us. The disciples are us. The 40 Argonauts are us. the 12 disciples, I think if we do the same thing with their names, we're going to find out that that's the stuff we're kind of looking at. So does 12 mean that? So we've got all kinds of ways to get back to the Eden location. We've got qualities that we need to find along the way. Then we get into 40, which appears 158 times. And I'm going to say that this looks like it is the time that it takes to let go or heal something once we've started to. You see, once the flood needs to happen in Genesis, right off the bat, the first time it rains for 40 days and 40 nights, then that wipes everything out. Everything emerges new afterwards. The Israelites go into the desert for 40 years and eat only manna, representing this time that this is us. There's that 40 again, going into the desert, going into a devoid place, the time required to heal or to prepare. Remember, though, we found 40 in the analog form. There is one of the numbers, like the 40, all of that. It's this pure state. So that's what you're looking for. But 40 seems a little bit more. It's like it's not just the pure state, but like the amount of time it takes when you start to actually get to the pure state. It almost seems like it's got something else in there, doesn't it? That precedes it. Let's see if we find it somewhere else in Genesis. If I pop this up here, I pull up, that comes up 15 times, I see. Yeah, it's got that in the analog form. Let me look towards the end to see where it ends up down. They spent 40 days. Let me see. Where were they? Genesis 50. Oh, it's way down near the end. Then Joseph threw himself on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. Joseph commanded the physicians to his service to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. Remember, all this, these are parts of us. They spent 40 days in doing this, for that is the time required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 70 days. 70, there's one of the sevens, multiple of. So you're looking for purity, and it took 40 to get there. 40 days in doing it, and then 70 when you get there, when the days of weeping for him were past. That's a healing time, the flood time, weeping instead of the flood. Joseph addressed the household of Pharaoh. So, you know what, I look at it right now, and it seems to me like if I work it through in my head, it meets the criteria of what is still working. So, yeah, 40 looks like it's a pure place, but the amount of time it takes. We just saw 40 lead to 70 right there. So you see how this is looking like it's just structured? But you have to just, we have to look at it like this to see it. Because of the length of this video, what I need to do is probably just not get back into the interpretation now. I think I really whacked out the flow here in the end, didn't I? But this is important stuff. This is how it's going to happen. Something big is emerging. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Questions, comments, feel free to put it below. And like and subscribe if you made it this far and you're interested in the subject. I'll put a link below to a Discord server and also to videos that were, they're a couple weeks old now, but they kind of set up how this is going to get underway. It went through all of the creation, Genesis, and the flood and all of that to begin with. And now we're going to be getting into the deeper part of Genesis. While, as you can see here, I'm still looking at things going, God, there's something more in here. That 12 is showing up right off the bat, too. It's just showing up in names. You have to count the names and then see that the names all mean something. And this is where we need, Dr. Justin Sledge at Esoterica or somebody going, oh, here, give me those names. I will show you, somebody that's that kind of expert is what we need. Not me looking through books from some metaphysician in, the U.S. that really I'm just looking at copied work from at that point. I don't read his well, he has some interesting ideas, but it's very supernatural still. It's not interpreted at a complete mental level. Mentally interactive. I also see as we're going through these, bringing 3 along, what do we have when we go? Is that a trilogy? Is that a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost? Is that a representation of your conscious, your higher being and your inner being that is not yet, now it's getting ready to, well, we're bringing corruption with us. They keep loading the corruption as we go. It's like a game platform. Do you see that? Except that it plays out in the psyche, and the goal is inner peace. Canaan, yeah. And we keep losing it, shifting away from that inner peace. Things are going on. You can kind of see that setting up here to begin with. Okay, here, I'll make a second video of this one. Okay, see you in the next one. Take care.